Shopping for swivels and snaps can be really confusing because there's so many options out there. Which snap is the strongest? Which swivel prevents line twist the best? Which snap is going to be the easiest to use? Well, in this video, I'm going to break down the different types of snaps and the different types of swivels and give you all the information you need to make sure that you have the best snap and the best swivel for your application. Let's get started. We're going to start with snaps. The first one I'm going to show you here is kind of the original style snap, and it's typically found on snap swivels only. And all that's holding that wire in there is one little clip. And I frankly don't use these ever. I've had fish come unpinned with these. You get enough pressure on these, they're going to fail fairly easily. So not a snap I recommend. They're super common, especially in department stores and stuff, but I would not recommend using this type of snap swivel in any application where you are concerned about losing a fish. So we can kind of put that one to the side. The next most common type is going to be the interlock snap. And typically this is also found on snap swivels only. It's a similar design, but it has a little wire catch on one side, so it's much less likely to pop out. This is probably the weakest style snap that I would use. It'll work in a pinch. It's not my favorite type snap, but it is an easy one to open and close. It's probably the easiest one to open and close and actually hook on a bait. So if you have a hard time using snaps, if your fingers aren't super dexterous or strong, the interlock snap might be your best bet. Now the next type of snap is called the dual lock snap, and it's one piece of wire and it's just got a specific series of bends to it. And this one is also fairly easy to open, close, and put baits on. It's probably the next step up from the interlock snap as far as strength goes. It does have a hook on the end, and it is a fairly strong snap, but definitely not the strongest. So if you're going to use a snap in applications where you're changing a lot of baits out, you're fishing for more average size fish, this one is totally fine. Walleyes, smaller trout, bass, that sort of thing. That dual lock snap will do the job, but if you hook a really, really big fish, I have seen these fail at times under a lot of pressure. So once we get to big fish, heavy trolling tackle, that kind of thing, there's two more types of snaps that you want to look at. One is called the cross lock snap, and basically it's got two 90-degree bends and a hook that goes all the way around the other side of this wire. And these are very difficult to bend out, so they can handle a lot of pressure. The one downside is they're a little bit harder to push apart, and they have this little hook on them that you have to get your eye around. So they are a little bit less user-friendly when it comes to actually putting these on a bait, especially a bait that has a smaller eyelet. But they are going to hold up to much bigger fish and much more pressure. And then the last style is going to be coast lock. Now the coast lock is one of my favorites. It's very simple. It's just a triangle bend with a hook at the end that wraps back around the shaft. Again, a little bit more clumsy to use, but very strong and can hold up to just about any size fish. So those two are fairly interchangeable when it comes to strength, but definitely want to use either a cross lock or a coast lock when you're dealing with bigger fish and heavier situations. Now let's talk swivels. There's basically only two types of swivels that you really need to be concerned with. Number one is going to be what's called a barrel swivel, and that really just has a couple of bent pieces of wire going into a barrel, and they're going to spin just independently of each other. One end will spin, so will the other, and the barrel is just kind of what holds it together. The other type is going to be a ball bearing swivel, and these swivels swivel much, much easier. They have a lot less friction. They're designed like a ball bearing. So if you're using a swivel in a high line twist situation, such as trolling, or if you're using monofilament and fishing with something like a spinner, I highly recommend a ball bearing swivel because that's going to take out the line twist much, much faster. It's proven to do so. A barrel swivel works great as far as braid to mono leader, or using something like a slip sinker rig or a Lindy rig. No problem using a barrel swivel. They're way cheaper. The ball bearing swivels are much more expensive per swivel than the barrel swivels. So if you want to use one that is going to work for most applications that aren't high twist but not spend the money, go with the barrel swivel. If you want that high function and high line twist management, go with the ball bearing swivel and you'll be much happier. Now there are some other types of swivels three-way swivels and like your high-speed rolling swivel that is like a triple swivel for super high-speed trolling. And those kind of things do work as well for very specific applications. We're not going to dive too much into that. A three-way swivel just basically allows you to add a dropper and works really well for that. But you know, we're kind of trying to keep it to mainly just single line applications. So I just wanted to mention that there are other options available. Definitely keep that in mind, that you may find some other types of swivels out there. Snaps and swivels, unfortunately, are not standardized when it comes to sizing or brake strength testing. So each company kind of has their own system for sizing and testing these things. The one that I look for, which is on most of the higher end, better snaps and swivels, is the actual brake strength. And that's going to be in pound test. So whether it's a swivel or a snap, and they range anywhere from 12-pound test all the way up to hundreds of pound test. Now, some manufacturers don't actually put the pound test rating on their packaging. I've found that most of those probably is for a reason. It's probably because they don't do well in the brake strength testing, and that's typically on your cheaper snaps and swivels. And that kind of brings up a second point. When you're buying snaps and swivels, don't buy the cheap Walmart style no-name brands. Buy the best ones you can get. VMC, Spro, OptiTackle, like the ones that are well known and well established. I'll leave a list down below in the description of kind of my top options for snaps and swivels, so that you know which brands actually are rated. These brands that are well known and cost a little bit more money, most of the ratings are posted on the packaging, and they will break at a higher strength than they've been tested at. A lot of the cheaper brands, they may list it, but it's been tested. I've watched lots of videos where they've tested these things, and they will break well under their strength, especially like those Amazon Chinese brands. Don't even mess with them. You can't trust them. You do not want to lose a big fish by going cheap on your snaps and swivels. I know it's easy to do because it's, you know, just terminal tackle, but man, that connection between you and the fish, you don't want that to be the weakest point. So again, I'll leave links below for some trusted brands for snaps and swivels. Now, when it comes to actual size, you just kind of have to eye it up. The main thing is you don't want the snap or the swivel to be so big that it outshines the lure itself. So you want something that's going to be small enough that it doesn't overpower the lure, but you also want something that's big enough that it's going to hold the fish. So, you know, if you're fishing for mid-sized fish, get something that's going to be an 80-pound test. Look for something that's high quality and a little bit smaller, and that's the route you want to go. You don't want to get some big giant snap swivel and put it on a tiny little lure, or it's just going to deaden the action of the lure, and the fish is going to see way more hardware versus lure than it should. So again, that higher quality tackle is also going to be smaller per its brake strength, and you're going to be able to get away with a much higher rating with less footprint, which is kind of what you want when it comes to snaps and swivels. So again, sometimes they will be labeled as, you know, a number 2 or a number 12 or, you know, whatever it is. That really doesn't mean anything. You really want to check the brake strength. And again, if it doesn't have it on the package, I would just skip and find another brand that does actually list that brake strength. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you want to learn more about snaps and swivels, check out the link below for my full-length snap and swivel video that I recently uploaded. I cover in that video when and when not to use snap swivels, as well as how to get the right size and pound test swivel for your application. So thanks again. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. We'll see you next time. Get hooked up.